This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, welcome to, I can't even tell how many editions we have done of Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing, but it's well over 175 now. And I have to say that in going strongly into a third year, it's so much fun to have our show followership and listenership growing on a monthly basis. And this month, I'm really trying to do some positioning because a lot of things are changing in marketing for authors, and whether you're in the very beginning of your journey or you're one of us old hats that have been out here for a while, we have to keep relearning what's going on. And so what today we're going to be focusing on is this whole thing called digital marketing, and how you can really grow your followers, your fans, your crowd, your tribe, your community, whatever you want to call it. And I have one of the premier experts in the arena as my guest for this hour. Hunter Boyle is a senior business development manager with AWeber. And if you talk to a lot of people who are out there who use eMarketing, there's only a few names that come up. And I've been with a few of them. AWeber Communications always comes in the top three. You need to understand them and work with them. And I think one of the things that makes them shine above so many is they really do have superb customer service when you get into deep doo-doo and need help. There is someone there like live to help you and understand what's going on. So what Hunter does is he really leads partnerships for the email powerhouse eWeber, and he's been growing businesses since the .com days first started. He's a longtime sales and marketing author himself. He's an international speaker, and he's helped countless marketers optimize their websites, marketing channels, and their campaigns. So Hunter's been featured in the Entrepreneur, Newsweek magazines, Marketing, Prof, Success, and B2B Online. And if you want to know a little bit more about Hunter directly, all you have to do is go to his personal website, which is hunterboyle.com. And with that, Hunter, we're just going to jump right into this because there is so much into marketing today. What's old, what's new, we shouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, and what do we really need to go into as 215 and beyond evolves. So let's just jump in. What's really old and what's the play? What should we be staying away from as authors?
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for that great introduction, Judith, and for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about some of these ideas with you and your audience. And at the top of the list, I think one of the things that has occurred to me, there are a lot of, when you talk about things we should do more of and things we should do less of, there are about probably three of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of authors getting tripped up on when it comes to digital marketing. And the first one, I know this will possibly sound self-serving. It's not, and it certainly isn't meant to. And I can assure you that a lot of authors that I've spoken to and worked with would back this up. A lot of authors are just not doing enough with email, and it's a huge, huge missed opportunity. When I spoke at Author Marketing Live last fall, there were about 150 different authors there, and I asked the audience how many were really growing an email list. And less than a third, probably 10%, were really focused on that, and the rest just saw this as an opportunity, and they knew it was important, but they just didn't know how and where to get started, right? They're great at writing books, they're great at writing all types of different content, but the email side is one that they just aren't experts in, and they don't have staff and how do they get started? So,
and you know what?
things.
Let me just add to that. One of the challenges for the email marketing, because I'm a believer in you market every which way that your audience is at, but that with the filters and the spam stuff that happens, and some of the new rules the Gmail and GoDaddy, I can do a whole listen on what GoDaddy has been doing with people who are doing email marketing, and they're putting in spam blacklists.
Right.
That they almost feel that there's so many, Hunter, barriers out here, and if we're only getting 10% opening, how in the hell can we get past that? So I know you're going to address that, but I wanted to throw that on the table right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. And there are definitely challenges to doing it. I certainly won't tell you that it's a perfect road to riches, or that in 10 minutes you will change your entire digital experience. But it is so powerful, and because, unlike social media, it is one of the biggest marketing channels, along with your own website, that you actually own, while you are still going to be dealing with the forces like how Gmail changes its inbox and how different clients do this and things like that. It's not quite at the same level as, say, when you build up an audience for your Facebook page and then they decide that organic reach is something that has almost disappeared and that you really need to pay for that additional exposure to people who've already signed on as fans. Or Twitter does some changes and kind of makes its algorithms a little bit more like Facebook in some ways, and how we see the content that we want to like and follow in social media changes because of different systems. One thing that is really a distinct advantage with email versus that is there's a relationship there that is not beholden to quite those same types of forces, and at the same time, email is a little bit more personal. If you think about all of the interactions that we have on Facebook or on Twitter or on a lot of other social media channels, they're very public for the most part, right? If you're going to like something, if you're going to comment on something, if you're going to share something, then everybody in your circles, and sometimes beyond that, is kind of party to that. So that doesn't always sit well with everybody in the audience. Sometimes you just want to read something, or you want to respond to something via email. So there's a different mindset as well that comes along with email that can't be overlooked. It doesn't just sort of set up as a different channel to social media. What it really does is make a foundation, and it complements the social channels very well. So taking that into consideration, and we'll get into some tips on that in a little bit, but thinking about how you can do more with email is one of the big ones. The other one I kind of see, and it's very related, is a lot of times it's very easy for, and this is not just authors, this is all kinds of brands and individuals, you name it, getting caught up in using the same content across all of those different channels, right? So you have, for instance, an email that goes out, and that email is shared on Twitter, and that is shared on Facebook, and maybe it's shared on some other channels, but it's all kind of the exact same content, and there are ways and times and reasons to do it that way, but then there are certainly bigger benefits to mixing it up, right? If you think about, finding that same story everywhere that you go, if you're following someone on Twitter or Facebook as well as email, then it just becomes an incentive for you to spend less time looking at one or more of those channels, because it becomes more of a wall of noise, right? So breaking away from that and kind of mixing things up a little bit in different channels is another big one. And then the third is really taking a little bit of time in your content and your marketing strategy to do what I call pass the mic pretty regularly. And you're obviously great at this. You're doing this with the radio show, and a lot of different podcasts are really good at kind of doing this, bringing guests on and getting other people involved in the conversations and making it more of a party atmosphere or, a small group rather than just kind of a one-to-one. But I think it's still a really good opportunity for authors that are, they're trying to find out how they can maximize their time and their budget with what they're doing with marketing and promotion. But it isn't just solely about the latest book or kind of what's coming now or the book tour or where it's at. It's really building a little bit more of an audience that's community-based and sort of getting even readers involved or authors and peers involved, other people that would be of interest to this community, and just kind of shining the spotlight on those types of people. And it doesn't even need to be to the extent of, launching a podcast or a radio show. It can be just what you share in your emails or your social channels. Scott Stratton does a really good job of this. He's an example I always like to point to. His books are based on companies kind of screwing up and what they do wrong when it comes to social media and marketing. And a lot of his different posts on Facebook or Twitter and things like that will be some of these kinds of newsy examples. Some of them may wind up in his books later, but, they're very relevant to the audience. But it's not just, here's me, here's what I did, and it takes that focus and it puts it a little bit more on the audience and helps to build community. Those are three of the big things that I see that a lot more authors could be doing a little more with.
So what I'm hearing you say, I can't imagine sending out a tweet and an email to everyone. That would be blowing my mind, actually, in an email broadcast. Because I know, oh my God. Oh, well, I aggressively use Twitter. It's actually one of my favorite platforms. Facebook is at the bottom of my list. But that, I think that, I'm thinking here that I certainly have some email lists, and I don't use them as aggressively as I could in updating. For example, I am so excited, Hunter, because I just penned a deal partnership with Barnes & Noble here in Colorado, with the biggest store, that we are going to have, oh my God, an Author U Day on May 2nd here in Colorado. How jazzy is that? And that we will have coupons that anyone who comes in the store and we get a coupon in their hands, anything they buy, they will be donating a percentage back to us. So I'm excited, but we'll come back to this. We're talking how to email marketing, and we're going to get more into the tips and how-tos with Hunter Boyle, the brains behind the marketing for AWeber.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, top of the day to all you amazing authors, and this is really an important show because we're talking about email marketing. Almost some people think email marketing or even sending emails is dinosaurian, and it's not. And it's also, to me, I don't want it to go into the area where people think, oh, don't mail anything. Let me tell you, some of the most successful campaigns I've had are with postcard mailing. And I still use some of those. I mean, I think all authors should be having their book covers on a postcard and something that's already pre-written so you don't have to rewrite the same thing over and over again. So you can really do it, whether it's for speaking or getting out there or use it for media or publicity or just saying, you know, go, or great to meet you or something. But you just keep that visual name out there, and you need to understand that people don't all respond to the same thing. There's some people who are just glued to Twitter and never looked at anything else. There's some people that are just on Instagram and never look at anything else. There's some people that never would look at anything unless it came in the mail to them. There's some people that only look at email. You need to address all those forms. Is that not correct, Hunter?
That is absolutely correct. If you're limiting yourself to just one type of marketing, you're just really losing a lot of opportunities.
All right, so since your really expertise is email marketing, can we just jump into that? I mean, we've looked at some of those key mistakes, but what are some of those? How do we grow and really create a huge community and fan base? What are some of your tips here?
So, and that's a great segue there. As far as what some of the mistakes we talked about, not doing enough with email, using the same content, and being very me-focused rather than we-focused, all of those, if you kind of flip those around and think about those ideas as ones that you can try and improve upon, email is a perfect channel for doing just that. You know, you need to think about not just sending things out over and over, not just think about email as, okay, here's my newsletter, here's my sales update. Think about it in a way that's a little bit more one-to-one mindset. Even if it is a list, it's still going to get to one individual person on the other end. And you need to put yourself in that mindset a little bit more rather than getting kind of caught up in the schedule and the design and all that sort of thing. And think about email as a way to really build relationships, because it is. Before, you know, spam and everything else and all these years have kind of given email the reputation that it has, I mean, it is still our version now of the letter, right? And even at a newsletter or a promotional type of way, you can still use it that way because there is a person on the other end who's receiving that. So when you think about how you can use email and what you can do from that perspective and with an idea that you will, what I like to call, respect the inbox, you can do a couple of different things. So one is certainly make it a point when you have people signing up for your email list to ask them a little bit more about themselves, right? Get them to share. You can send back a confirmation or a welcome email with a couple of questions in it or a link to a short survey that particularly, and this is something I think you mentioned before, if you're doing live events, you're speaking, you're doing a book tour, author tour, things like that, ask for the person's zip code or their city and state or their location. You can mention to them that, hey, I go on tours regularly or my upcoming tour is coming up. I love to know if I'm going to be in your area. I love to connect with my fans and readers when I'm on the road. Click here to give me your address or, your county and state, whatever type of geographic information, and start to use that to get a little bit more connected and a little bit smarter about who the audience is. So that kind of information will be hugely valuable for working on your book tour, right, on your PR events, things like that. And then you can also ask them questions like, have you read the latest book? What did you like best? What didn't you like? There are a lot of things that you can do that we just don't often think about with email, but it's really easy to do. If you set up a quick 4-question SurveyMonkey survey, it'll take you about 5 minutes. You include that link in a welcome email, it'll take you about 5 more minutes. And the input and feedback you can get on that, as that keeps snowballing and the list keeps growing, extremely valuable. You can also use that same type of idea and that concept to get in touch with your readers about what else it is that they might like to see, right? As far as maybe you're doing something with giveaways. And if you're not, that's another really good idea. That's one that I know horror author Jay Thorne has done very well with, growing his email list, using different types of giveaways, either sort of bundles or, maybe your audience is interested in something that you've done. Let's say it's either out of print or something forthcoming, or you could get very creative with it. Alternate things, all sorts of surprise things, email list only type things, giving away friends' books. There are dozens of ideas, creative ideas that you can plug into, but asking your audience what they'd like to see will help you make sure that those are going to be a bigger win when you do them than even going out to kind of experiment and find out what they are. And when you do go and experiment, ask your readers for feedback on that and say, we did this giveaway. What did you think? Using that sort of feedback loop with email is one of the best things you can do. It's very simple. It's just putting a question or two in the email. Ask them to reply directly or use a short survey, whatever you do. But this, again, gets back to the idea of kind of passing the mic, right? And not just broadcasting, but listening. Using email as an active listening tool is one of the best things that you can do. It's not even something that replaces what you're doing with email. It plugs directly into it. It can be a very strong call to action, and it can tie into your email sales efforts and promotions for new books, things like that as well. And personality. Another big factor with email is really having a bit of yourself in there. Because the people who are going to be signing up for your email, they don't just want to know more about this particular book. I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do with the book, but they want to know the author. The same way that when we get a DVD, a lot of people go right into, the director's cut or alternate ends or kind of, the DVD bonuses. So think about the other stories that you might be able to wrap around what you're already doing with email and use that as a way to kind of separate what you're doing there from what's already on your blog or what's already in the social channels and how you can mix that up. Keeping something that is exclusive to email is a great way to entice people to come over from those other social channels. So using Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, other sorts of social channels to say, hey, here's a special something or other for just our email subscribers is a great way to help grow that list, cross-pollinate without using the same exact content from one channel to the other, and using those type of exclusives or using even a special email, for example, like a VIP version. You can do a regular version for people who just give you their name and email, but for people that give you that additional information, those, say, for example, those survey answers about where they're located geographically or how many books have I read or purchased, something like that. Maybe you segment your list and give them an exclusive within that email. So there are a few different things you can do, and you don't really need to, the great part is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can take your blog updates, use them as a big part of your email channel. You can really benefit greatly from doing a welcome series instead of just having an email that goes out that says, thank you for signing up, look for your next newsletter soon. There's a huge opportunity there to either ask questions, point them back to your site, give them a special bonus, maybe even testing a special bonus that you didn't even promote on your website when you're getting people to sign up, right? That's just like a remarkable surprise. Like when Zappos sends you something and you know what, it turns out that they just gave you a free $15, 15% discount card or something like that. You didn't even know about that surprise that was coming, so it's even more delightful, right? We call these remarkable experiences.
You know, with Zappos, sometimes I think when you order at Zappos, you might as well just go to your front door because it's coming. The order will be there momentarily.
Right. And they have, people are raving fans for that. Warby Parker, they do a lot of stuff from kind of a brand perspective, but it's a very similar idea. These are the things that get people really excited and get them devoted. And if they already have a passion for your work as an author and what you're writing and what you're doing, thinking about really cool ways to connect with that is something that, it really becomes easier as soon as you shift your mindset on email from thinking about, oh, I have to send another newsletter, oh, I have to do this, to, hey, what kind of really cool, creative surprise or things can I do with my best readers and fans now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I love the idea of the welcome surprise and doing it. And I'm trying to think of a little, as you're talking, one of the things that I do once a month on a Saturday morning that I only let 15 people, up to 15 people can come, but it's kind of like an open house and a pick my brain. And I don't charge anyone for it. It's a 3-hour, like 9 to 12 in the morning here in Colorado. And they come in and you know what? I'm going to have to tell people the rest about it because it's a great idea for everyone to take advantage of in their expertise. So This is Judith Briles. Hunter Boyle's my guest. We're talking about email marketing and why you should be doing it. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network, radio with a cutting edge.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, personal. Here we come back.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Yeah. All right. So today is the 15th that we are live on it. And here's what I want you all to know. And if those of you who are picking us up the next day, because I know we have just tons of downloads via the podcast channel, that I'm going to give you a little flexibility through the weekend. Only because I'm going to be going out on the Publishing at Sea cruise, where I am cruising in the Caribbean, and I can't think of a better place to be in January than the Caribbean, with 23 authors teaching them about so much about publishing. But that the Draft a Dream book competition is alive, and it's the first annual one that Author U has sponsored, along with a huge amount of other people, but 4 amazing authors and new authors, or authors who are putting their toes into other categories. Maybe you're a fiction and now you're going to convert to nonfiction, or a nonfiction and have an idea that they can tweak and make a business parable. And, all of a sudden we have a fable and we're running with that. Children's, juvenile fiction, nonfiction. Those are the 4 categories. That there are 4 grand prize winners. There are going to be 16 runner-ups that will get roughly $1,000, and one of the prizes is full attendance for the 4 grand prizes at the Author U Extravaganza, May 7th through 9th in Denver, Colorado, as well as the runners-up will get the All-Day Thursday, which is designed for the newbie and the advanced author, and so there's a lot going on. All the details are on the AuthorU.org website. Just click on the icon that says Draft a Dream, and I will keep it live that you can register it through Sunday. I'm just going to say to our audience through Sunday, because the deadline is actually 15th when we're live right now. And then what we will have is that you have to get 5 copies of your manuscript. We're not talking about being bound. If you've edited, well, that's great, but do what you can there. And I'll tell you who your judges are. They are librarians who are looking forward to seeing this new crop of authors and books, etc. So take advantage. It's huge, huge, huge with that. All right, so we're with Hunter Boyle. He's the Senior Business Development Manager for AWeber Communications, one of the top platforms and systems for getting emails and distributions out there. And we're talking about mistakes authors make. He went through the top 3, some tactics that really build your fan base and for email, and why you should do it and not think of it as a dinosaur, how to get ramped down those channels. Hunter, what are some of the things that we can do to really, get people to the website and get them to hang around and stick there? So they can find out all the goodies that you have to offer.
Right. Great question. The number one thing I would say right now is, if your website is not mobile friendly, you are in big trouble. You are. And if there are authors in your audience that have been kind of holding out, or there's a site design that's been around for a long time that you haven't been able to get to, I don't have time or budget or, what have you, and it's not mobile friendly, that is, in 2015, it's just going to be a killer. It just is. The numbers and the stats that we see on mobile usage being way above, probably about 60% even going into this year, and just knowing intuitively how we all sort of interact with our sites or our smartphones now and access sites. A bad mobile experience is not only bad for the users, it's also bad for your Google results. So it makes it harder for people to find you in the first place, and then it makes it harder for people to really interact with you. And we all have very short attention spans. We're all not very interested in kind of getting to a website on, our mobile phone and looking at how we have to swipe right to see the other half of it, or how things look chunky and clunky. So one of the biggest things I could recommend is, if you haven't gotten that together yet, please make that your number one priority for this year. Change the WordPress theme, get it designed, do whatever you need to do. But that's going to be the biggest factor. Again, not just because people are there and then they're going to hate it and they're going to leave, but because Google is penalizing sites now that if they're not mobile friendly, they are going to appear less. So you're going to get less traffic and more frustrated visitors. So that's
I have a question about that, because that I've played around. I actually put it out in one of our tips in last month's author resource to check if, the mobile test, I think it's mobiletestmeers.com, if I remember the name of the site you can test it on. And one of the challenges is that all these different types of phone systems, everything is different. And things come across, whether it's, and of course, and then you've got the tablet. Are we going to count the tablet as a mobile, or are we just talking about the phone in that? Yeah. And you've got differences between iPhones and Androids, and you've got the Galaxy and all that. So, what do you do? What's a girl to do, Hunter?
I'll tell you, there's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Google actually has a preview tool as part of its Webmaster Tools. It's open access. So you can use this Google tool. I'll give you the URL. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but you can search for Google Mobile, and it will show you how your site looks, how Google reads it in mobile, and it will help to tell you if you're on track. It'll give you kind of a brief overview rating, and that's one that you can use for kind of guidance in terms of how that site is going to be seen and perform the way Google sees it, mobile.
Mm-hmm. So Google's going to control all of us. Are they? Is
well,
that what
it ain't
you're
telling
me?
So.
Okay. All right. So first of all, mobile friendly is what else do we need to do to be sticky?
Absolutely. The other one is consistency and freshness, right? If you think about some sites that we come across, so let's say you get to a website and it's January now, and the most recent blog post you're seeing is from October 2014, right? Or maybe August, right? Mm-hmm. What are the chances that you're going to, already in your mind, the seed is planted that this is a site that isn't consistent, it's not about freshness, and, there are just going to be long droughts between when the good stuff is coming. Right? It's like if I went to the supermarket and I saw last year's bread, milk, and eggs, right? Am I going to go back to that super fresh around the corner from me? Probably not, unless I'm desperate. So maintaining a regular cycle, and even if that means getting some help, whether through guest blog posts or other sorts of things, doing maybe a shorter version post. Seth Godin has authored, dozens of books. His blog posts are, a lot of them are 60 words.
I actually follow Seth Godin, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. If you look at the format of Tumblr, a lot of them are just, hey, here's, one photo and a couple of comments, or it's a reshare. So getting out of the mindset that, every blog post has to be 500, 1,000, 3,000 words or epic length, or has to be the best post I've ever written now. And kind of you still have standards, but maintaining that consistency and even playing with the format. If you don't have time to do your, 1,000-word blog post, if you do that, say, twice a month, putting something in there that's fun, or maybe commenting on another blog post somewhere else, using different ideas to just maintain that, restocking of the shelves, let's call it, is going to make a very big impression on site visitors. Because if you have a blog or, your information looks out of date, people are going to be less likely to sign up for your email, follow you on social, come back to the site, do all the things that you want them to do when you're building that fan and that audience relationship. So whatever you need to do to maintain that cycle, again, behind making your site mobile friendly, that's another must. And then beyond that, really taking a little bit of time to spice things up a little bit. We talked about some other ideas right before the break, and how you can do a different type of content that is really going to excite your readers. And, you ask them what they thought of it and get their ideas, and you're pulling that all together, and you're just putting great ideas out there over and over. I think, Judith, you were mentioning going into the break that you do something sort of like an in-person Ask Me Anything type of thing.
I do. Yeah, and it's we call it the author YOU circles. And what they do is it's totally free, and the only thing they have to do is they have to bring something healthy, a snack to share. That's the rule. Yeah. And I have coffee and tea out. And I just put a flip chart up. And I just say, you come in and you just put up what you need to take away. My guarantee is you will take it away. And I also believe this, and now I'm going to loop back to what we started with, sharing the mic. I always believe that the answer is in the room. And if I don't have the answer, by God, someone does. And it's been so much fun, Hunter, to see books evolve from these little soirees of 10 to 15 people that show up. And I never know who it is that's going to come. They just they do it. I put it up on a meetup here locally that they do it. And if they sign up and they say they're coming and they sign up twice and they don't show up, they cannot come. I ban them because they take space away from other people who want to come, because I'm really ruthless on limiting how many people can come at once. I just have to do it that way. And that, and it really, it's fun. And we've had book titles evolved and changes, and it's really great to see the ongoing. Okay, we're coming into our final break. We'll be right back with the amazing Hunter Boyle, and we'll give some final tips on eMarketing and building your lists.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd. If you want to create a book with no regrets, give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207. Or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network, Radio with a cutting edge.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, email marketing. So much going on, and I think clearly we have to have Hunter Boyle from AWeber back again. So, Hunter, I guess tell our listeners what AWeber can do. I think it's important to say that.
Sure. We mentioned a couple things as far as how to improve your email marketing, whether it's through newsletters, whether it's through promotions, or whether it's through what we call blog broadcasts, which make it very easy to automatically send your blog posts out via email to people who signed up for it. Sort of like, a lot of people are probably familiar with FeedBurner. It's sort of like a FeedBurner on steroids. Well, maybe not steroids is the best term, but to that much higher level. And autoresponders. So kind of a welcome series, or they're also known as drip campaigns. The AWeber service does all of those things. It's super affordable. All of our templates and all of our forms are mobile responsive, so you don't have to worry about them looking good, as we talked about, on mobile. You'll still have to worry about your own website. That's a different story. But it makes it very easy to gather those subscribers, to build your audience, and to create the emails with a very simple drag-and-drop interface. It's designed for people who aren't designers or developers, so it's set to be pretty easy, and it gives you a lot of very detailed analytics, including as in-depth as sales goals. If you're interested in kind of doing direct sales with your email, you can track those very specifically. And finally, it's an open-source API platform, and what that means is you can plug into other services that you use very easily. So let's say, for example, you're doing a workshop, or you're on the road and you have an Eventbrite page set up for, your book tour. You can take the people who sign up for that event through Eventbrite, and those emails will automatically go into your AWeber account, so you can add them to that same type of welcome list or that same type of newsletter or promotion list that will help keep you in touch with them after that event is over. Actually, before, during, and after, as well as other things like, if you're doing anything with e-commerce, there are a lot of plugins for that, contact databases, a lot of those sorts of things to try and stay organized, and then other tools to help build your list, like Lightbox forms, like AssumoMe, or mobile pages, like mobile and social pages like Heyo. We plug into over 60 different applications, so it's very easy to use by itself as well as with other tools. And that's why a lot of authors have been using us for a long time. I'm blessed that I get to work with a lot of best-selling authors who are our clients, and a lot of great folks, Judith included, who are really working to take advantage of the system and use that to grow their audience and their business.
Yeah, and I have to, disclaimer, we did just switch over to AWeber, so I'm still a neophyte, and I have to get my team involved, so we need to know what all the system's doing. And I actually am going to be sitting down with someone next week who is an Aweber aficionado, and I'm going to be getting a tutorial on it, because it is like, I can't do it all. I'm someone who works humongous hours, and so I have to channel it out. But,
right. We do a lot to help. That's one of, as you mentioned at the top of the show, one of the things people love is that, our live support is there and will help with anything you need anytime.
Yeah, which is really important. All right, so we actually just have a few minutes left. So let's jump into, can you give a couple of tips of what some of the best-selling authors you know of are doing to goose up their sales with email?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And, we touched on a couple of these, but really to drive the point home, the biggest thing that a lot of authors that I see are doing particularly well is they're putting the audience first, and they're putting that value first. Right, they're listening, and they're taking email as a road to build communications, not just promote, not just sell, but to really create a dialogue that isn't the same as social, but it sort of mirrors that, and it complements that in important ways. Now, how do you do that? The best thing that you can do is really pay attention to your analytics, right, and look at the numbers there. If you're just sending emails, and you're in that promotional mindset, I create them, I get them out the door, but then I don't go back and I don't look at not just who opened, how many opens, how many clicks, how many conversion events or things like that happened. It's great to look at that on a, per email basis, but one of the things that some authors are doing that really sets them apart is they're really looking at the trends, right? So instead of just getting caught up in the individual email level, they are doing sort of a bi-monthly or a quarterly review, where you're kind of taking those numbers for each email and you're crunching them together in a way that helps you see, all right, so this is what really made a difference, not just, this week or this month, but in this quarter, and how can I capitalize on that, right? Which of our emails got opened the most clicks, which ones, if I'm doing sales tracking, and then what are the common threads in that, in that engagement and that response? Kind of like a mini audit, if you think about it, because, a lot of businesses will do this once a year, but, if you're doing this on a quarterly basis, you can react more quickly. And then taking similar guidance from, we were talking about using email and social together, which social posts are really striking a chord, right? And if you're using different content in different ways, let's say you post something on Twitter and, you got the most retweets that you got in the past 2 months. Well, okay, that's perfect. Twitter is a great testing ground for email subject lines. So if you got a tweet and it got a whole lot of responses, then that is a great way to either not sending it out the same week or the same day, when we're talking about not just doing everything 100% overlap, but putting that in your file for, hey, this is a tweet or this is a Facebook post that got a ton of shares. What can I do with this? Let's say 3 weeks or a month from now. Can I recast a blog post, or can I do something and use that as email subject line? How can I use that content, and how can they both feed each other? And by the same token, you can do it the other way, where your email that gets a whole lot of good response also becomes something that a month or so later is on Facebook, right? And then a month after that is on Twitter. And then, again, that feeds back into the analytics, where if you're looking at them on kind of a quarterly basis, if you step back a little bit and take that slightly bigger picture mode, then you can really tap into what is moving your audience. And when you're able to do that, you can just keep doing more of that. So it's kind of a foundation for optimization, I like to call it. And as sort of a secondary part of that, finding that format that is going to work best for you, but not getting locked into it to the point that you don't experiment every now and then. We talked about Seth Godin and his short posts of 60 words or something like that, versus, like a Tim Ferriss that has a blog post that has, a podcast in it and almost a transcript and 30 links and 3 giveaways and 2 takeaways. There's a huge huge amount of space in there. Somewhere right in the middle is someone like an Ann Hanley who uses email for her blog posts. And it's just a very short teaser for the blog, but it's a regular schedule. And people know that it's going to be great writing, so you start to look forward to it. Or an author like Peter Shankman, who has kind of an occasional series of updates, right? It's not a set weekly time, and it's not huge epic posts, but it often teases something or will be just one self-contained email that is, he writes them on the plane when he's going to a speaking gig, and it's like he's talking to you directly as the reader. And finding that format that really gets a great response with your readers, and then kind of using that as your baseline, but mixing it up a little bit and experimenting with some of these other formats is a great way to kind of create it's almost like a testing mindset. Again, it's the way that we approach conversion optimization. You think about what you can do based on your audience response and your analytics, and you try different changes and experiments and see what works, what doesn't, and you're continually improving. And then the last thing I would say is really, we talked about a couple of these ideas too, just going beyond the book, right? Thinking about the audience as a person, not just as a reader, not just as a potential customer or as a fan, but, what else is that person likely to be into? If there are things that you as an author are into and you've already got some common ground because they like your writing, they like your work, who else knows what they might be into? Like maybe you're a total Game of Thrones geek, right? Or maybe you're maybe you're really into a certain type of tech or style or something like that. Put those personal bits out there, connect with people, and use your storytelling gifts as an author in a way to really connect with people in those kinds of ways beyond just the book and just the business. And those are going to be, the kinds of fans that you want to have. They're the ones that don't just buy your book themselves. They're the ones that are going to go post a 5-star Amazon review and tell all their friends, oh my gosh, I read this book, it's great. Not only that, I found out that the author is, like a sci-fi nut like me, or Game of Thrones nut, something like that. And kind of taking that beyond just a marketing channel into social business is really important. Thinking about how email has a very key role in that, and using all of those together is what I see some of the best-selling authors doing for really building audiences, and those translate into book sales and people sending great reviews and really wanting to be a part of what you do and what you publish as a writer.
For being a part of your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles.